Watch the moment a people smuggler was caught red-handed, inspecting a van used to traffic illegal migrants into Britain. A migrant smuggling gang has finally been dismantled as the head of a Teesside-based crime group gets jailed for 20 years. Mohammed Zada from Middlesbrough and his 5 associates were found guilty back in July of transporting migrants in vans and a refrigerated lorry after a 6-week trial. Perez Abdullah, Khalid Mahmood, Marek Sochanik, Gurprit Karlon and Bestun Mosley held key roles within the people smuggling network. They were responsible for recruiting drivers and facilitating the movement of people into our country from mainland Europe. Zada coordinated at least 5 conspiracies to smuggle 35 Iraqi Kurdish and Vietnamese migrants into Britain from France, Belgium and the Netherlands. Investigators believe he is likely to have successfully smuggled hundreds, if not thousands of migrants into the UK illegally, prior to these attempts for which he was caught. Each migrant was charged between £5,000 and £10,000 by the crime group to be hidden in vehicles and brought into our country. The first arrest was made back in March 2017, when Marek Sochanik's father drove a van from the UK to Belgium on 2 occasions to collect and transport people. He was stopped by French police at Calais on his second trip and 8 migrants were discovered hidden among furniture in the van. Sochanik was convicted of people smuggling offences in France. Zada had purchased the van and arranged for Milan builders to be painted on the side before plotting the journeys with the help of Marek Sochanik. Another time, the crime group organised for migrants to be smuggled from France and the Netherlands into the UK in a refrigerated lorry trailer containing fruit and vegetables. The return journey from Rotterdam was foiled by Dutch police, who located 12 Vietnamese migrants, including children as young as 4, due to be loaded into the lorry. In the days that followed, Zada and his lieutenants arranged for migrants to be hidden inside a camper van, as well as in vans among bicycle boxes and a shipment of mattresses. On all 3 occasions, the journeys were intercepted by law enforcement officers, twice in France and once in Belgium. Footage captured by NCA officers monitoring Zada's movements showed him examining the camper van hired by his co-conspirators to transport the migrants. The crime group were also found to have duped drivers by tasking them to transport legitimate commodities from mainland Europe. People were then loaded into vehicles without the drivers even knowing. But the leading members of the crime group were finally arrested. A separate investigation led by HMRC identified Zada as the leader of a gang that smuggled more than 2 million cigarettes into the UK, hidden among a shipment of fridge freezers. For his leading role in that crime, he was sentenced to 5.5 years imprisonment. Zada was later jailed for 20 years after being found guilty of 5 counts of conspiring to facilitate breaches of immigration law. Sochanik and Abdullah were both jailed for 6 years. The pair were found guilty of 1 count of the same charge. Karlon pleaded guilty to 2 counts and received 7 years. Zada and Sochanik were sentenced in their absence, having absconded before the start of July's trial. Work to locate the pair and bring them into custody is ongoing. Martin Clark, NCA branch commander, said, "Today's outcome is the result of tireless efforts to dismantle people smuggling networks and ensure those treating people as commodities and putting lives at risk are put behind bars." The NCA alone has more than 70 ongoing investigations into networks or individuals operating at the top tier of this type of crime. And working with our partners internationally and domestically, as seen in this case, is a key component of our work to tackle organised immigration crime and human trafficking. Arslan Khan, unit head of the Serious Economic Organised Crime and International Directorate in the CPS, said, "These men were happy to risk the lives and safety of others to make money. This was a complex operation involving collaboration across international borders. The CPS was able to present a comprehensive and compelling body of evidence in court. Some defendants pleaded guilty, while others were found guilty after a long and protracted trial. We will now seek to pursue any money or assets they gained through their crimes through our Proceeds of Crime division. While these 2 migrant smugglers remain at large, a couple who found an illegal migrant in their car were fined £3,000 after reporting it to the police.
We went to the supermarket, and Ed, my partner husband, phoned. He went to the van when he got an email through on his phone to use he unlocked the van and used my iPad, and then it was unlocked. And he thought it was quite windy today. And then he thought, no, it's not windy at all. And he went to the back of the van and there was a leg poking out.
So you saw a leg poking out of your van and you thought, someone's broken in?
Yeah. He realised it was a migrant and said, get out, stood behind the door, got the man out. And the man got out and now got across the car park of the supermarket. And then he called me, got back in the van, locked the door, called me and said, get back in here. I've had a face-to-face with the migrant, a bit dismayed by it. And then we came out of the supermarket. That was my business partner and I, Caroline, and I came out of the supermarket and we went on the Eurotunnel. We got checked, the van got checked by customs, border control, and then we got to Barton Mills, and the migrant got tapped like this 3 times on the van. We thought, oh, please say it's not a migrant. It is a migrant.
Oh, my gosh.
And he got in first.
So, OK, goodness me, right. So there was an initial encounter with someone who tried to get in and then they scarpered, and then clearly someone else had... He was the second person, I see. So someone had already got in. Right, OK, so then at this point, by the time that you hear the knocking on the door and you realise what's happened, you are where now? Have you entered Britain again?
Barton Mills, Norfolk, Suffolk, yes.
Right, OK. So then you've had a person, sitting behind you the whole time that you've not realised?
The whole time, with the furniture. And he was respectful of the furniture and stuff.
Oh, my gosh.
I know.
I mean, that's terrifying. So let's do first things first. That is terrifying.
It is terrifying, yeah. But he was quite young. He was under 18 anyway. He wouldn't say if it was a boy or a girl. But so I rang the police, and Ed said ring the police. So I rang them. We met at a supermarket just past there, and somebody was videoing us. The migrant got caught by the police and taken to a house, which I'm not allowed to say the name of. And then I got interrogated for 2 hours. The guy checked the van. Nobody else in there. That's fine. And that was it, really.
So you were interrogated for 2 hours. What kind of questions were they asking you? And also, they then fined you $3,000. Is that right?
Yeah, they did, yes. In July, we had to reply. Bye.
So what kind of questions were they asking you then? And also, forgive me, but I think myself, like many other people, are probably wondering, well, why on earth were you fined? I mean, you didn't...
I know.
You weren't human trafficking.
I know, but we could have been, but we weren't. We wouldn't have called the police, surely, if we were.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. So they were asking you, were they trying to get to the bottom of whether or not you'd done this deliberately?
Yes, I think so.
And then presumably they concluded that you had, which is why they fined you.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm laughing. I mean, it's not funny. It's not funny for you, is it? But it's laughable, I think, what's going on.
I would advise you to take him to a lay-by. It was a boy. If it's under 18, it was 16, I'd say. And to take him to a lay-by and let him go and call the police.
Well, quite, yeah, if you want to keep hold of £3,000.
Yeah.
OK, so have you now got a criminal conviction as well for this?
Ed has got, not a criminal conviction, but he's got a fine of £3,000 being the driver. Yeah.
OK.
But we're paying it.
You're not paying it?
We are paying it.
You are paying it?
Caroline and I are paying it from our business, £100 a month.
OK. And could you just tell me exactly how this happened in terms of, so Border Force were asking you questions, you said, well, we called the police.
Were asking us questions, yeah.
Okay, and you said, well, we called you and we alerted you to this, and we obviously didn't know this chap was in here. And I just don't quite understand how they then came to the conclusion that you now needed to be fined £3,000, because you couldn't have really stopped that. Are we now all expected to secure our own vehicles to the point of them being an impenetrable fortress?
I think they think that we were a haulage company, and had a lorry. We didn't. We just had transit. Goodness
me. Okay. And so this is just absolutely bonkers what's happened here.
I know.
And this must be, conceivably, this must be happening quite a lot to other people. You've just highlighted it.
I think probably, yeah.
Right. And the actual offence is what? Not securing your vehicle properly?
It says here on the letter, Immigration and Asylum Act 1999, the Carriers Liability Regulations 2002, clandestine entrance.
In contrast to the rush to punish these citizens, the former immigration minister, now Tory leadership hopeful Robert Jenrick, admitted that dozens of known terrorists had snuck into Britain and had been housed at taxpayer expense.
Dozens of terrorists have waltzed into Britain by getting a small boat across the channel. That's the allegation. Robert Jenrick, a man who has seen all the sensitive information available at the Home Office, said, "In the year before I was immigration minister, more than a dozen known terror suspects crossed the channel on small boats. By now, that figure is well into the dozens. These are people our security services identified as known quantities, threats to our communities, with links to Islamic State and Al-Qaeda, and they waltzed right in." Well, those terrorists will no doubt be welcomed into the open arms of these gullible, useful idiots, the Refugees Welcome Brigade. Robert Jenrick also said that around 1,000 migrants who arrived in small boats in 2022 and 2023 have been linked to criminality. Now, the Labour Party has apparently denied this, but I suppose it's a question of who you believe, isn't it? MPs have been banned from hiring foreign interns in case they might be spies. Only those with 3 years UK residency out of the past 5 years will qualify for a parliamentary pass. Now, this annoys me, because our politicians admit that people who we've already vetted might pose a risk to national security. But they expect us to live amongst people who've just broken into Britain. So we, the public, have to take all the risk. Us, the plebs, have to tolerate people living in hotels, council houses, whatever, and we're told, no, don't worry. Or if you do get worried about it, you're far right. But they won't even have foreign staff, just in case they pose a risk to national security. But they're just the same as the Refugees Welcome Brigade, though, aren't they? Because here is a video of some of that Refugees Welcome lot being asked to sign a contract to allow a refugee into their own homes.
I just noticed your placard saying refugees welcome here. Yes. I'm just wondering if you'd like to go down on a list saying you're willing to take the refugees into your home.
Of course not. Only problem is I rent.
You rent?
Yeah.
Maybe an issue?
Yeah, because they've got, well,
if I had any space, I would.
If you had any space.
It wouldn't be a nice place to bring them because it's a bit overcrowded.
Right.
But yes.
Sorry, okay.
Rental?
Yeah.
You can't do it?
Yeah.
Someone else's job?
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, I can't.
You can't take one?
I don't have a...
Don't have the space?
Perhaps the greatest irony in all of this was spotted at the ongoing Labour Party conference. So apparently there was a pro-mass migration stand-up to racism event that was oversubscribed. So they had to, get this, implement a one-in, one-out policy. What, just in case it got a bit too crowded? Was it? Just in case it got a bit uncomfortable for the people who were already there? Look, all of our lives are being put in danger by what's coming across the channel, and our left-wing politicians and the Refugees Welcome activists want us all to take all of that risk on without being willing to take any of that risk themselves.
Nicholas Dunning, GB News.